So if I want to delete a cookie, um, I'm kind of out of luck because there's no direct way to delete a cookie. The only way to get rid of a cookie, in other words, delete it, is by setting the expiration date of the cookie to sometime in the past. Now, if you have a cookie that has that expiration date in the future, it'll automatically go away when that date is passed. If you don't include a date at all for expiration on a cookie, as I've said before, then it becomes just a session cookie. It lasts as long as that browser window is open or until you explicitly log out of that website. But a cookie with an expiration date in the future, if you want to get rid of it before that date, you've got to change the expiration date to something in the past. And unfortunately, I think cookies use a pretty esoteric way of expressing the date and time for expiration. And so the proper format for an expiration date looks like this. So we use expires equals, and this is inside the cookie string. We use expires equals, and then we use a very specific date format. The day of the week, comma, and then a 2-digit day, a 3-character month representation, then the year, and then the time using a 24-hour set of, so it's 2 digits for hours, 2 digits for minutes, 2 digits for seconds, and then we're using the time zone. Typically we use Greenwich Mean Time. For me, I'm on Pacific time, so that is an 8-hour difference. So Greenwich Mean Time is 8 hours ahead of me. So I need to make adjustments if I'm really being precise. But typically we just are concerned about the date or the sort of vague idea of when we want a cookie to expire, unless we're trying to expire it in the past, in which we would set it to the past. So another way we can get that time in that format is to use a couple of lines of code. And this one actually uses the date object to say a number of days from now converted to milliseconds and then added to my current time. And then we use that date to UTC string method to create an expires string. So let's take a look at a couple of those methods in code right now. Okay, so let's take a look at the code. We've got our 2 cookies here. Those are already defined. That's why they're showing up, even though the cookie lines are commented out here. But if I wanted to expire, let's say I wanted to expire this name cookie, what I could do is just add the expires string to that. And what that might look like is if I just say expires equals, and then I would have to find the exact day. So Thursday, and then we're going to say the 1st of November, and that was 1970, and then the time, of course, midnight, Greenwich Mean Time. Now, if I save this, then my cookie, my name cookie should go away because I've set it to expire in the past. So let's save it, preview it, and sure enough, when I display document cookie in my little div here, that one is gone. So that is the standard way of expiring a cookie, is just typing that out. And the reason I was able to remember this particular time and date is the Thursday, the 1st of November, 1970 is just a standard date in the past that we often use when we're expiring cookies. So that's just something that's sort of blazed into my memory. But you don't have to use that date. Any date in the past will expire the cookie. So let's bring that cookie back. We'll resurrect it here by previewing again. Okay, there it is. It's back. And now let's try getting rid of that again. And what I'm going to do is paste in some code here, and then I'll explain it. So I've set up an integer called exp days, the days ahead that I want to expire. That's 7 days in the future. And then I've got a new date object that I'm creating using let my date equals new date. That date object gives me some abilities. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to set the time, which includes the date, of the date object. So I'll set the specific date and time of my date to the following. And what I'm going to set it to, and this will give me 7 days in the future, 7 days from right now. So if I say mydate.getTime right here, what that does is it gives me the current time right now. And if I add to that 7 days times 24 hours times 60 minutes times 60 seconds times 1,000 milliseconds, that gives me how many milliseconds in the future would be equal to 7 days. So I add those milliseconds to the current time, and then I set that to the time of my date. So my date is now equal to 7 days in the future. And then on this next line, I'm actually assembling the expiration string. So it says expires equals my date to UTC string. And then the final piece of this is revising the cookie here. So I have document cookie equals, that's the name of the cookie, must include that so it knows which one. And then I'm adding the expiration string to that. Now, before we run that, let's actually take my mt.innerText and set that equal to the exp string so we can see what that string reads. So if I run that, there's my expiration string. And 1 week from today is Thursday, November 28th. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. All right, so this is set to expire on Thanksgiving. So if I now run that code with the document cookie being set to that string, you'll notice the cookie is still there. Of course it is, because I've set it to 1 week in the future. Now, I can very easily adjust this to make this expire by setting it to any date in the past. So expiration days -1 is yesterday. So now if I run that, watch what happens. That cookie is gone because it expired yesterday. So that's the next time you view that page after the expiration date and time, it goes away. So that is how we will delete cookies from our web pages, from our users' browsers when they visit our web pages, I should say. But this code here is really handy. You might want to save it somewhere. You might want to write it into a function. You will use it unless you want to just manually write out that date, in which case you can do that, of course. But this makes things a lot easier to deal with. So if you save that code, that's not a bad thing to do. But that is how you delete cookies.